What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al, the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Fairtex BGV9 Mexican-style training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have the Fairtex BGV9 Mexican-style heavy hitters training gloves by Fairtex, and these gloves are really unique. I see a lot of people request them on the channel, enough to where I finally decided to get behind and do a review on them. This is Fairtex's take on a professional boxing glove of like the Mexican style. So what they're referring to is companies like Cleto Reyes, Grant, and all these other things, like the Everlast MX, and Fairtex basically said, let's dip our hands into the professional boxing world, because these are not so much of an MMA or Muay Thai glove. They are definitely more of a boxing glove, and you can tell by the contour of the glove that they're for sure trying to get that Mexican style between the flat punch surface, the certain padding coming out here on the side where the thumb's placed and everything else, and then on top of it, of course, the materials that they use on the inside, which we'll get into when it comes to the build of the glove. But in general, Fairtex, I want to say, came out with these 5 to 6 years ago, and I've had them for going on 3 now. I think I've had these for 3 years, and I do actually use these often. I do like this. This is by far my favorite glove that Fairtex has come out with, because of course I am a puncher, and I do like puncher's gloves, and I think Fairtex actually did a phenomenal job with these. They're unique in that they have like that Thai feel to it with that boxer Mexican style feel as well. It's a very unique hybrid that I'm sure I'm going to go into in a minute here. But first off, of course, I got to give you a brief history on Fairtex in general. They started out, I believe, in 1958 when Mr. Philip Wong made it. They made primarily shirts, sponsored fighters, and a bunch of other things for local Muay Thai fighters, and they did a pretty good job with that. But it wasn't until the 70s when the Fairtex Training Center was made, and they had a lot of big fighters, especially nowadays. You have fighters in 1FC, especially like Stamp Fairtex, Semapech Fairtex, and then Yotson Clay, considered one to be the best Muay Thai fighters, period, Fairtex. And it's not because their last name is Fairtex. It's tradition in Muay Thai at the gym that you train at to take on the last name of the gym that you train with. So that is the big deal with why their last name is Fairtex. But so Fairtex is a big company, primarily in Thailand. They are huge. They do the outfits for 1FC. They also used to do it for Strikeforce, Elite XC, WEC, and a bunch of other companies still use Fairtex fight gloves. I think LFA might use them still, but they are for sure one of the biggest combat sport brands. But for sure, for my money anyway, in my opinion, the biggest brand in Thailand and in the Muay Thai world is for sure Fairtex. So when they made this glove, it was really interesting. I saw it on Ringside Boxing, and they have a bunch of different colors, but as always, I tell you the model I have the 16 ounce. I have the just yellow, because for me Fairtex and yellow goes together perfectly. I don't know why. It's like Reyes and red for some reason to me. It just shines better than most other things. And to me, Fairtex is the Reyes of the Thai world, in that you get the best craftsmanship, the best leather, best materials used, and they last forever. So they're a very durable pair of gloves and very durable equipment that Fairtex makes in general. So when we talk about the BGV9 and the look, of course, you can talk about, once again, the whole glove, except for the palm, is yellow. The whole back of the punch surface is yellow. The thumb is yellow until you get to the Fairtex logo, that iconic, really bold Fairtex logo. I love the logo that Fairtex has. It's very unique. And then, of course, it says handmade in Thailand with genuine leather. And, of course, it uses a nice cowhide, if not buffalo leather. Now, we turn around, and we have the grip bar and the finger area here. We have all of the black leather going throughout there, and it's really sharp. I really like how the black contracts with the yellow. And you have white double line stitching going all the way throughout the bottom, and you have black piping around the wrist cuff, which is also yellow with the Fairtex logo here with the 16 ounce stamp, as you can see. But the Fairtex logo down here has the red and blue, classic look to it. And overall, it's a pretty generic looking glove. It's basic, and that's the one thing about Fairtex, is that they also have a bunch of awesome looking gloves, but they can keep it basic. And these gloves, whenever I see a basic pair of gloves, it means that they're there to perform, not there for a showpiece at all. And they are very much there to perform for you. You also have the yellow lining, that piping around the thumb, and you have black piping throughout the cuff here. Now the build of the glove is interesting compared to a lot of other gloves out there on the market. Well, starting out with something that isn't so interesting but is awesome to know is that the outer shell is made out of that, once again, that nice cowhide leather. And you can get that nice shoe smell off of it, and it feels nice, soft, and durable. It's a very, very nice feel. And of course, like most Reyes and Fairtex gloves feel, you can get some leather off, and you can see they use about a ½ inch of really nice hide on the back here. And as always, top grain means that they took the leather and shaved off all the imperfections and put it right on this after they tanned it. As far as the construction goes, it uses a 2-core foam of latex, right? There's a 2-core layered latex foam here, and you can tell that by folding that in, and it pops right out. Like most puncher's gloves use is latex, comes from a rubber tree, so it's very bouncy. It's going to bounce up like that. So when you hit something, recoils right off, and it's going to bounce right off any surface. So these do a really good job with that. And it also has, it feels like if you push down on the latex, it feels like there is a piece of EVA foam at the bottom, you know, that's keeping the latex in place. But it is one solid piece of foam here, right, of latex foam, kind of like Reyes would do, you know, and you can see that they attach it from the wrist here. So it's not like Winning or Grant where they attach the thumb afterwards. It is very much that classic Mexican style. Now, going to the thumb attachment, it's one of those cool gloves that has a thumb attachment going inside of the glove instead of on the out. So getting it to move is very difficult, which is actually very good because most puncher's gloves have a very fat thumb that protrudes a little bit. These do not. These actually have a pretty thin thumb that's curved in at a pretty good angle, just like it would be the natural punch, and then it tucks away into the hand here, so it's completely protected, and that's a really unique thing that I kind of wish a few more gloves did like that, because the thumb, I've never had an issue with these gloves, and you know, normally with other puncher's gloves I have, because of that reason. But the wrist strap is another thing that's interesting, is when you open this, for one, it has very strong Velcro, and for two, the strap is actually underneath here, okay? So it's not over, it's underneath, and it keeps it nice and closed when you get it. So when you get it to close on you. So it's strapped underneath the palm and the wrist instead of over. So it's actually really easy to close. It folds right over instead of you having to pinch it and then maybe the bottom part's like fanning out like this when you put it on. You know, I hate when you put that on your wrist and it just fans out for no reason. The palm and the wrist area on the front has really soft, high density foams. It's just an open cell foam like most gloves have, and the grip bar is actually pretty soft as well. It's I imagine, once again, just a high density foam there. Nothing too fancy, nothing too special about that, but it is a very comfortable grip bar, and you have nice padding on the palm, on the bottom part of the front of the glove, so it's good if you're still catching kicks, because you know they're Fairtex. It's nice and protected. If you're parrying punches, catching punches with your hands, it's very good with that too. Now if I open this, I'll show you like most gloves, but unlike unlike most Fairtex and Muay Thai gloves, it does not have a leather base to it. It's all that nice satin, polyester satin, nylon type material here, and it's very smooth and very tight to the inside of the glove. And it almost feels like a nylon version of Grant's, I guess. You know, Grant has a canvas feel, same thing with New Sporting, or even something like Infinitude has like that canvas feel on the inside. But once you get your hand on the inside of the glove, I won't say it has a Grant fit. It definitely fits more like a Fairtex glove would. This is definitely a Fairtex take on a Mexican glove, but you can feel that canvas type feel and that smoothness, or that bumpiness rather, the opposite of smoothness, on the fingertips, kind of like a denim feel, only it's a lot softer. Something I wish Grant actually did, because the canvas feel kind of scrapes my fingers every now and again. It's not a bad thing, but this is definitely a very comfortable and nice and cool hand compartment because of the material that they use. It's completely stretched to the padding, so it's nice and protected there. I don't have a bunch of freedom of motion with my thumb. It's very much stuck, and the glove actually does not open all that great. So if you like catching, you really have to kind of lift as high as you can, but the glove does not open very well. You know, so if you're more of a parrier guy, then, you know, these gloves are a little bit annoying. If you were to parry anything, it's going to hit the tips of your fingers, which honestly is going to hurt like hell if you open your hand, and it's just going to jar your fingers back. The cool thing, though, is like some punchers gloves do nowadays, like the Everlast MX gloves do these pretty well. They have a bit of a firmer piece of foam, it feels like, towards the tip of the fingers, and you can see a little tiny split right here. And that split tells me that they put that firmer piece there in case of exactly what I was talking about might happen when you go to parry. It's not going to jar my fingers back, and it's also going to keep my hands nice and soft on top of the grip bar. The hand compartment for a Muay Thai glove, you know, for a glove made in Thailand, feels just about the same as like a BGV9. There's a lot of room going this way, not a whole lot going up. So if you like wrapping your hands up big, they're not the best. But I tell you what, the wrist support compared to something like a BGV9 is way better. The wrist support is a lot longer. It has a longer wrist cuff, and it has a really good, nice wrist strap, and you can tighten it really good here. And now my wrist is completely stabilized going down and up, and it also kind of curves me into that natural punch position in some way. But this glove is very much something you must be aware with most punchers' glove. They will not favor your wrists as much as other gloves will, like a pillow glove or something. Although it has awesome padding in the back of the wrist. It has all that latex padding. Same thing for the knuckles too. And like most punchers' gloves, I can feel right through my knuckles. So, you know, they're like piercing through a hot knife through butter. And that's the thing with these gloves that you got to watch out for. If you don't like the feeling of that, if you have brittle hands, might be time to move away from these gloves, right? That's the idea behind these, that they are very much a puncher's glove compared to, say, you know, they have like the BGV10s, which are big, puffy gloves, right? Compared to these. So that's one thing with these gloves. But if you are a puncher, these are a good glove for you. The wrist cuff is really supportive. It's really nice on the back of my wrist. I can feel the pressure and the compression on there, keeping me nice and stabilized. And on top of it, it's just a really overall comfortable fit. And what else helps with the wrist too is that you got that elastic piece here that's keeping the glove together on top of your wrist as well. So that's a really good touch, and it's a very good feel to the glove itself. So overall, the glove pans out pretty well. The wrist support's great. Knuckle support, you know, of course, it's hit and miss when it's a puncher's glove. But in general, it fits pretty well. Let's go to the bag and some model views so you can see what it looks like to get hit by these, and you can see and hear my reactions whenever I use these gloves.
So my favorite part about these gloves are actually the bag work that you get out of these. The absolute impact that you get with these is amazing. And you know what? For a puncher's glove, the knuckle padding is actually not that bad. It's like a mix between a BGV9 and a Grant at the same time, but it has a Reyes-like recoil. So it's a really interesting glove at the same time. You feel such a good comfortability coming off of your knuckles, and honestly, you feel it in your wrist in a good way. You can feel like every time you hit that your wrist is actually being cushioned and supported, and your hands can go really fast in these gloves as well because of that recoil. They feel heavy at first, but when you put them on, it's actually crazy how well balanced of a glove they are. Awesome for bag work. I think you'll really love those. So here we are with the Fairtex BGV9. You see that big Fairtex logo, made in Thailand, it says, and that yellow and black design is nice and sleek for you. It's a really interesting glove to look at across the gym. You always see a big bright color just popping out, and I think that's always something that you're going to look for inside the gym. I think you're really going to enjoy hitting people with these, and your sparring partners are going to appreciate getting hit by them. Really cool looking glove.
All right, so my final verdict on the Fairtex BGV9s is that they are a very good glove, but they have their cons that might outweigh it for some people, especially if they're aiming primarily for the boxing world. You know, starting out with one, I wish the hand compartment was a little bit bigger. You know, it feels just like a Fairtex BGV9 in that it's a little bit too much going side to side, but there's not enough room to put any padding on top, which is where you need the padding to grow. If you do that, it feels like the back of your hand's getting squashed, compressed, and stomped. And that's the thing about making a Mexican style glove in Thailand, is that once again, it's not a stereotype thing or anything. Thai people or people from that part of Asia are just naturally smaller than someone like me, coming from the United States, and that's just an honest to God truth. But that's the thing behind these gloves, is that they are very small. They breathe very well, which is good. You know, I do get a lot of air in, and it's not because of the holes on the thumb. You know, the holes don't often make a big difference. But the lining on the inside is very comfortable. It's very smooth. It's very cool to my hand. It's just a little bit of too much compression going on in the back, especially for a puncher. If you have too much compression on the back of your hand, if you hit wrong, something's going to burst between your veins, arteries, blood vessels, your bones. Something's going to break, and I worry about that, especially with punchers that like throwing multiple punches and hard punches at the same time. If I had to compare them to a Mexican style glove, I would say they have the punch recoil that of a Reyes with more of a Grant fit, which is a very interesting thing. They are, in essence, their own Fairtex style, and that's something that I can't take away from these gloves. They are very much their own glove, but if I had to say what they're trying to replicate, the inside feels that of a Grant, to only take away the canvas feel and put like a nice smooth lining feel on the inside of the glove here compared to the canvas Grant, or the Grant canvas, right? And that's a little bit more comfortable to me. The inside lining is super comfortable compared to a lot of other gloves out there. Not very irritable at all on my hands, which is very reassuring, and I love that feel. But it's just too tight on the inside once again. And the knuckle support, you know, even some, I'd say, you know, latex, this is more of a firm core latex. It's very firm compared to like Reyes or Grants, or even like Infinitude, or a couple other things out there that have latex, or even like the El Kukui 2.0s, you know, the Aliens by Top Boxer. I'd say the padding is that of like an Alien from Top Boxer. It's a good puncher's feel, but it's definitely a firmer latex foam. So if you like a softer feel to where your knuckles completely dig through the padding and recoil off, the gloves might not be the right glove for you, because they are definitely a firmer latex foam. But that's actually good if you like bag and mitt work and you like to punch a little bit harder. So in that case, the knuckle support is actually really good as far as a puncher's glove go. Would I recommend it to people that have complete hand problems? No, but would I say that they work pretty well for people that like to sink really big shots in? Yes. But to me, they are more of a puncher's glove. They're big enough to where I'd say they are also a defensive glove, so I put them in the hybrid category of a defensive puncher's glove of how big they are, and they do catch punches pretty good. The only thing is the hand compartment is a little small, so if you have brittle hands and you like to hit hard and you wrap too much compression can make it burst. So I just recommend lightly wrapping your hands, because the knuckle support is pretty good on these. So it's actually a pretty good plus. It's a win-lose situation there. If you like to wrap your hands up big, don't do it in this glove. The wrist support, though, is phenomenal for a Fairtex glove that normally has, you know, short wrist straps or anything. And I really like the innovative wrist design here on the inside, and its straps and stitches on the inside here, so it keeps it nice and closed. So if you're doing this by yourself, instead of having a coach do it, all I have to do, turn it over, and it's completely strapped onto my wrist. And it's very hard. If I strap this like tight, right? It's not going to come off, right? My fingers went down a little bit, but all I got to do is put my fingers right back up, and I'm all set to go. So it's very much on my hand. So you have awesome wrist support. It really hugs your arm, and it really takes away a lot of the impact when you actually hit on your shoulders and your elbow. You get a nice feel, but it's actually very impact absorbing because of that harder, denser latex here at the front. The thumb is something that I love with this glove. You can't move it too much. I do like a little bit more mobility. I have not once smashed my thumb, nor have I ever had an uncomfortable feeling of my thumb on the inside. But just like the hand compartment, it's just a little bit too tight. I wish there was a little bit more room in the thumb. I wish I could breathe a little bit more, because my knuckles do tend to protrude a bit, and I've been doing it a while, so I do have some swelling, some permanent swelling in my hands as well from doing this. So I kind of need a bigger hand compartment is really my big go-to with this glove. The padding on the wrist and the padding on the palm and everything is awesome. The grip bar feels great. Hitting the bags with these, it's a very sharp punching glove, just like the BGV1s. You know, but it has a bit of a wider surface than BGV1s, and it does have that classic puncher's flat surface. But once again, that two-layered dense padding for latex is actually a unique thing. Really, my big knock on the glove is it's just too tight in the hand compartment. I wish there was a little bit more room to breathe with my hands with these gloves. But other than that, I mean, the craftsmanship is awesome. Like I said, Fairtex to me is like the Reyes of the Thai world, in that they do a phenomenal job. They're going to last you a long time. I would definitely give these a shelf life, especially because of that dense padding. Eventually, they do get a little softer. When you take them out, they are very stiff, like most gloves are. But they do break down to get a little bit softer over time. The padding's very thin at the same time, but because of how firm it is, it's good. But because of that, it's probably going to last you. I give these gloves a really good shelf life of at least 3 to 4 years if you take care of them. I would recommend these more for a pure boxer. I would not recommend them so much for an MMA guy or a Muay Thai guy, because if you want a grip, opening these are hard. They don't have a very good grip at all. That's the one thing I noticed. In boxing, they have a decent boxing grip, and that, like, I can hug and I can really punch through to get like clinch work pretty good. But if I'm trying to grab, I'm basically doing a monkey grip here, and the monkey grip is even kind of weak because of where the glove fits, and I cannot open it very wide. This is about as high as it's going to go until I twist it. So they are more of a boxing glove, which I think Fairtex was trying to reach out to anyway. And they do a really good job. A lot of people use them. So if I did give them like an overall rating plus the price of these, which I want to say, there's actually a sale on Amazon. I'm checking it for you now because I want to be sure I'm getting this correct. Yes, okay, so there's a sale right now for $70 on Amazon. I just want to be sure I got that. But normally the gloves go from anywhere. They have a bunch of different colorways from $70 up to $120, depending if you get them from Thailand in a like nice colorway. But I got these for $100 a couple years ago, and they came directly from Thailand. But they are a very good glove. I think they're good. If I had to give them an overall rating, the price range is perfect, especially for a puncher glove like this. $100 is not a bad deal at all. That, and on Amazon, they have a $70 deal. So go jump on that. I had to check just so I could tell you. The thing with these, hand compartment, if you have big hands, maybe not for you, but if you're a lightweight, I definitely think that these gloves are right sailing up your alleyway. I think they're awesome. I think they protect your hands pretty good. The wrist support's awesome. The thumb positioning's great. Once again, I just need a bigger hand compartment and they'd be a perfect glove for me. But I give them a solid 8 out of 10, just for the fact that the hand compartment takes away. The price is good. But I think if they're really trying to get that puncher's feel, I also need a glove that can open up a bit more. I wish they could be used for a little bit more than just the boxing aspect of the sport. Especially with Fairtex, you'd think that they would make that a little bit more of a flexible glove. But with that said, folks, I'm Al the Postmaster Tomorrow. Thanks for choosing the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go to the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel so we can keep this going, all right? But with that said, folks, thanks again for choosing your source for combat sports. I'll see you on the next episode.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as it really goes a long way to help the channel out. As always, links to these gloves are in the description below, and if you have any questions or recommendations, hit me up in the comments or on the social media pages, and the links to those are also in the description below. Thanks again for choosing the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'll see you soon.